Do you want an amazing marriage? Are you ready to take your marriage to the next level? Then stick around for Your Marriage Matters podcast with marriage coach Lynn. Let's put some fun and sizzle into your relationship.
Hi, today's book is Men, Women, and the Mystery of Love, Practical Insights from John Paul II's Love and Responsibility by Edward Sri, first published in 2007. If you've heard of Love and Responsibility and tried to read it, you'll find that it is very intellectual and not an easy read. This is a comprehensive book that covers a lot of ground in easy-to-digest chapters that offers a summary of love and responsibility written in the 1950s. This book is nicely blended with what is going on in our modern culture. Edward Sri talks about friendship, the sexual urge, avoiding attractions, the proper role of the emotions, building trust, intimacy, and mature love. He talks about the backlash to chastity in our culture and the battle for purity. Sri advocates a return to modesty and explains how contraception harms love. He has a nice chapter on men, women, and tenderness. Let's start off with a quote. "Sensuality alone is not love. It can be raw material for the development of true love, but this yearning for the sexual value of the body must be supplemented by other nobler elements of love, such as goodwill, friendship, virtue, total commitment, and self-giving love. If sensuality is not carefully integrated with these higher elements of love, sensual desire will be harmful for a relationship. In fact, it can destroy love between a man and a woman, and it can even prevent love from ever developing in the first place." End quote. When we think about sex, we have to think about what is the end intention of man, what brings order and not chaos to society. You'll see that selfish sex, pornography, and deviations from genuine husband and wife love bring disorder and destruction to a culture. Chapter 4 is on sense and sentimentality, the proper role of the emotions. The main point is that love should integrate our emotions. Instead, many people focus on sentimentality and romance. Think of the Nicholas Sparks books and movies, and when people marry quickly because they've fallen in love. Real love requires effort and is a virtue that involves sacrifice, responsibility, and a total commitment. It's not the good feelings you get because another person is going to make you feel complete. Sentimentality can blind you from seeing the true and complex person in front of you. Some people might think their chemistry is perfect. They idealize the other person and exaggerate because they are longing for love. If this sentimentality goes unchecked, the couple may be in for a big disillusionment and go through a transformation in the early stages of marriage. I want to make a side note here. When a couple decides to marry in the Catholic Church, in many locations in the U.S., it will require a 6-month preparation process that is somewhat intensive and designed to avoid against quick, impulsive marriage, and it is intended to last a lifetime. Another chapter discusses the two sides of love and that the kind of love we're looking for in marriage is one that grows in holiness, deepens your union, especially if you are blessed with children, and it's a love that grows over time. It is based on a virtuous friendship, pursuit of the common good, and wanting what is best for the other person. We entrust ourselves to the other. We surrender our freedom for the sake of the other. Our partner is a tremendous gift given to us that we can treasure and help care for. We need to see our partner as a person who maintains great value and not view him or her as a bundle of shortcomings. Having acceptance of your partner means you are realistic and not idealizing your partner into the type of person you want him or her to be. How many people marry a person in which they see potential and want to do a remake in a selfish way? You see this in some young newlyweds who make major changes within the first year of marriage. A mature love looks outward, not inward, at the self or the other, absorbed in one's own feelings, but at the good of the other person, for the good of the other person, and is focused on integrating, like I said before, the sensual, emotional experiences with the objective aspects of love, virtuous friendship, and a commitment to will what is best for the other person. Christian love grants the beloved all his imperfections and weaknesses, and in all his changes remains with him, loving the person it sees. This book talks about the dangers of using another person. If we are solely focused on fulfilling our emotional and sexual needs, we end up viewing our beloved from a reductionist perspective. They are reduced to how they can please us. They are not viewed as a complete person. We are in danger of operating from our ego and senses, and this is not self-giving or self-sacrificing. This kind of love can fizzle out within a few months or years. The author says that what is needed is chastity, chastity of heart, a way of looking at the person as a whole person, not just what that person can give you sexually or emotionally or financially. We are looking for a chaste love, a clean love, a love that does not fall into utilitarianism or how that person can be of use to you. We want sincere affirmation of the complete person, transparency, authenticity. Let me share a quote about emotional chastity. Christ wants us to live single-heartedly. He wants our hearts to be completely united to Him and to our spouse. Only the person who is able to guard his heart, reserving it for his spouse with total self-giving love. Quote. I liked what the author had to say about parenthood and personhood, and it had to do with embracing children and a family if you should be blessed with children. I know in today's culture many couples are going into marriage deciding to not have children. Here's what was presented in this book. Quote, instead of being a union of persons in which the spouses are at least open to expanding their love by becoming partners in parenthood together, contraceptive sex moves their marital relations in the direction of becoming merely a bilateral relationship of enjoyment with no other purpose than to be used as a means to pleasure. Instead of being viewed as a co-creator of love, the spouse now is seen primarily as a partner in a pleasurable experience. Quote. Again, we need to be careful of focusing on our partner primarily as someone who brings us sexual pleasure. Our thoughts should not be centered on that. This is not the central reason we are with our partner. Sex is important and fulfilling, but it is not to be something in which we are fixated on the partner bringing us mere enjoyment. This is why natural family planning or the fertility awareness method brings great richness to a marriage. If you deem it inopportune to add a baby to your family, you pray and abstain. The partners dialogue about sex and babies on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis when they are following NFP. Edward Sri is the author of Men, Women, and the Mystery of Love, which serves as a summary of love and responsibility written by Pope John Paul II. There was an interesting section on the family. The Pope does not criticize anyone about their family size, but has observed that having 3 or more children sets up a family to experience community. What happens in many families when a second child is born is that the oldest child showers love upon the new baby. The 2 children can form a friendship with each other, but when a 3rd child enters the family, we now have a dynamic where 2 children offer their attention together toward the new baby. 2 children were not simply playing with each other. They were now 2 people working together to create happiness and harmony with the 3rd child. The two older kids can learn teamwork, compromise, sharing. Two people working together to serve another gives them opportunities to grow in love, friendship, and virtue as a community. Their hearts and personalities are deepened in the home on a daily basis. Let me leave you with a quote that is controversial in today's culture, where we want maximum control and maximum happiness and wealth, where many view children as burdensome, something to be carefully planned and budgeted for in order to fit into their adult lives. John Paul II says, quote, "Parents themselves must be careful when they limit conception, not to harm their families or society at large, which has an interest of its own in the optimum size of the family. A determination on the part of husband and wife to have as few children as possible, to make their own lives easy, is bound to inflict moral damage, both on their family and on society at large, which has an interest of its own in the optimum size of the family." End quote. The title of this book is Men, Women, and the Mystery of Love, Practical Insights from John Paul II's Love and Responsibility by Edward Sri. Next week will be our 5th book review in this series, and the title is 3 to Get Married by Fulton J. Sheen. Have a great day and make your marriage great.